Hello and welcome everyone to our Saturday stream. I'm Josh and this is our map and image creation. So thanks everyone for joining me today. I really appreciate it. This is the stream where we go over all of the art related Fantasy Grounds, Unity, news, as well as do tutorials and demonstrations of the inside of the programs, all of the advanced image creation systems that we have there. As well as all the different art products that are officially created by Fantasy Grounds. We do have a art subscription, so that I believe it's $5 a month or $50 a year, and you get access to all of our previously released image packages as well as all of the ones that will be released. So it's certainly a great deal. I think that we have well over 30 something products, maybe even 40 now. So there's absolutely thousands of images there. So it's great. Coming out this month, we're going to be releasing some with the Spelljammer release that's coming out. I've got 2 art packages that are going to be released with that. One for creating these fantastical kind of space backgrounds, as well as for creating your own. Are they just called ships at Spelljammer? I actually have no idea, but images for creating your own vessels. So that should be super cool. There's a lot of really cool, kind of interesting things that they do inside of that that campaign for the different types of ships. Some of them are very organic, and so diving into a lot of different like insect parts and almost like squid elements as well for creating like these really cool ships. You could even use it in any sort of application, but I'm really excited to be able to show that stuff off to you guys when it gets released. Oh yes, lots more spacey stuff coming. We're going to be doing some more, especially with some of the stuff that's going to be coming out in the future. We're going to try and coordinate all of the releases of the art packs with major releases from us, so it should work out really, really well there, especially when we're going to have some nice new sci-fi stuff coming out in the future. So with that, we'll be creating a bunch of new sci-fi art packs. It'll be awesome. We do have to tend to the vast majority of RPG players play in the fantasy realm, so that is definitely where we focus most of our efforts. But yeah, doing all this other stuff will happen. It's just a matter of time, that's all. But we can actually, I think I actually have loaded up here. We can go fantastic space here. So you can see here we've got lots of cool maps and whatnot here. Let me just make a turn off all of our lights and whatnot. So creating some really cool kind of backgrounds and whatnot, and all of these, there's a whole bunch of pre-created maps here. And in our backgrounds, all of these are not only like these cool, lots of different vibrant colors and whatnot, but all of these are also able to be used as fills. So let's turn off our brush and we can load this stuff up. Maybe we'll grab this one. You can drag these out. These are all seamless, creating these really cool kind of backgrounds. And you can layer these on top of each other with a lot of the new systems here. So we can do something like this, and then we can fade out here. You can make some really cool kind of places. And so this will be a really fun pack. This one's got tons of, like I said, they're kind of pushed more towards the Spelljammer, so there's very bright colors and a lot of those things, but they're certainly able to be used in any way you want. Lots of like star fields. And don't forget, you can always come in and make any sort of adjustments that you wish, even after the fact here. So we can do some color adjustments on this and really whatever we want. And add lots of cool stuff here. So a lot of fun stuff coming out. We can delete that. Back to our images here, and we can go into. I'm just going to delete that. Right here. This is the one. Yeah. But once all of this stuff gets released, we'll be going through. We're going to be building some ships together on our Saturday stream, as well as creating some really cool environments and whatnot. I'm really excited about it. Lots of different like planets and different planet shapes and things, and really cool ways to interact there. So very, very excited about that. But we're going to get back into creating. We started this. We're using the latest released art packages, which is the castle and the medieval buildings here. We started building this little area here last time. We're going to start doctoring this up quite a bit. We're going to go through. We're going to create some other buildings throughout here, make a nice little environment here. One of the things that we can do, I think what I'm going to do with this is separate the background from the foreground here a little bit, and you can kind of jump in here and do that a couple of different ways. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to put all of these ground tiles in this folder here. We might even want to add in our textures as well, but maybe not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten this up. So all I'm going to do is create a new effects layer. We're going to add an effects layer here, and I'm going to drop this down, and I'm going to put this inside of this folder as well. And we're going to make this adjust colors here, and I'm just going to brighten up some stuff a little bit. You can see that by lightening up this background, we can really push forward some of these darker kind of elements that we have going here. Maybe what we'll do here is we're just going to push all of these up here a little bit. Let's just do like 55 across the board and see how that looks. Great. And you can see that, like I said, that's just going to give us some separation between what we have in the background and what we have in the foreground. And this is beneath all of the other stuff that we have on top here. So this is going to make this a little more subtle. It's also going to allow us to create, if we want to do any sort of height variations, any sort of elevation changes. The reason why we want to exaggerate those a little bit, because we don't have any way of doing true scaling for elevation changes. So what we need to do is we have to convince our eye of it through the use of light and shadow. And the greater kind of contrast that we can have there, the more drastic that impact is going to be on our image. So what we can do is jump in at this moment, and I'm going to start to build up some of this background areas, and then we're going to jump in and do some more buildings. Maybe we'll do like a larger building here and lots of smaller ones around, and make this kind of like a little community. But what I'd also like to do is get some more interesting kind of maybe environmental aspects to this. So what do you guys think? Do you think that we should have what do you guys think would be like a cool kind of way to add in some different? We could do water. We could do. Oh, you're not getting any audio? Is everyone else getting audio? Somebody on Jason from YouTube. No audio there. Let me know if you guys. I guess you wouldn't even hear me if I was talking then. Okay, great. Thanks, Primo. Do you guys have any suggestions? Oh, good. Great. Thanks so much, guys. Maybe we could do. Oh, you know what would be cool? Why don't we create like a little canyon here, and we can do like some bridges and whatnot going across. That sounds kind of cool. We'll create like a little bit of a separation here. I think that might be fun. What I'll actually do is we might even want to do it. I'll do it maybe on the ground textures, and then we can kind of build on top of that. All right, so let's jump in here. There's a lot of different ways we can do that. I think what we can do is let's go into the Abyss map pack, and in our brushes here, we not the brushes, I guess, it's in the decorations. We have this nice cliff. I think we can use this. We've created a lot of like these elements before, and there's a lot of different ways that we can kind of do this. We could also, there's some ones in the jungle art packs as well. So yeah, let's just go in. We have some of these. These might be able to might work well. I'll show you guys how I like to. I think this is all. Yeah, this is the jungle one. Well, let's use the one from the Abyss one. I think that that's the one that I want to try and use here, because what we can actually do is set this up. We can go in here and use this as our stroke. Oh no, I'm glad you got it figured out. Perfect. And then I'm going to switch over, make sure that we have no fill selected here. And what I can actually do is just kind of drag this out and create a little element. What I'm going to do is I think we're going to change the colors here a little bit. This is a little bit too bright for this particular element. So I'm going to grab my color picker here, and we're just going to grab some of these colors. Nothing too dark. That's a little bit too dark. Let's now we can kind of adjust this a little bit. Get something that's a little bit, this is going to work well right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit Control C and grab this hexadecimal code, and that's going to allow me to pick that color up again if I so decide that I want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start to paint across here, and we'll do a little bit of interesting shape here a little bit. See? And the reason why we want to put this up here on the ground textures, we want to actually be able to go underneath here. We're gonna make this convincing by making the shadows coming off of this and doing some adjustments to what is down in the little canyon here. And I'm going to make this a little bit more interesting by just kind of, we don't want to make it like straight across. Then we'll come to the end here and double click and end it. See, we have this nice little ridge line here. Now I'm going to come back the opposite way over here, and this is going to make sure that it's going in a different, the opposite kind of direction, like facing up here. Maybe we'll make this a little bit wider here. We could even maybe do some like buildings down at the bottom as well. That might be kind of cool. So here you can see we have a little bit of an adjustment that we got to do. We're going to blend in this to our background here a little bit. See, we have like this kind of road kind of comes up through here. And what we'll do is we'll get rid of it at the bottom, and then we'll put a bridge in over here as well. And we can do a couple of other bridges across in addition to that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in our shadow content along here. And I'm just going to switch over to this adjust colors layer. We're going to switch to the our effects tab over here. And you can see we have all of this already set up for doing these shadows for our building here. And so all I need to do is just go over to the reveal area. I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm just going to come along the edge here. I'm going to make sure that this kind of feels like it's going to be in shadow. I'm just going to roughly kind of do this because we do have a nice fade that's going on it, so it's not going to be very precise, or nor does it need to be. I just want it to be generalized around here, and then the further we bring this out, as you can see here, this instantly kind of gives it some depth here. And so the further we bring it out, the more height that we're going to create with that element here. Let me just move right along here. I'm going to bring this down and bring it across like that. We'll kind of pull this out off the edge here a little bit. You see that's instantly going to do it. Now we're going to do some on this side as well, but just these little bits that kind of stick out here. And we're just going to kind of create in some of these little inlets that same kind of feel right? But we're not going to bring this out. See that this is already starting to feel as though that we have some depth here, height. Now, we know that there's no real height that's kind of going on here. It's still just a very flat image. But we're actually just trying to sell that feeling, that idea. And one of the things that we can do too is I'm gonna change the bottom down here. We're gonna create a new painting layer, and we're gonna paint in some elements, and we're also gonna paint in some stuff up on the edge here so that it gets a little bit more, or feels a little bit better as far as like the transition goes. Maybe we'll make this a little bit barren down here, but we'll leave some of this texture stuff, but mainly along the edges, right? What ends up happening is, and one of the reasons why we want to change that is because this area would be constantly or most of the time in shadow, which would mean that vegetation would be much different down there as opposed to above. So these are the little things that your brain kind of picks up on when you're creating these things that makes it seem a little bit more believable. And while we're in the Abyss art back here, we have some really nice kind of like ground texture stuff here, like different rocks formations and whatnot. So we can go through here, and I'm going to find something that's going to fit us pretty well, or we can even go into fire effects. These tiles, now these tiles are all seamless as well. We can use these as fill elements if we so desire, and kind of fill in some of this stuff. These are a little bit too bright. And these are kind of otherworldly. There's like some craters and whatnot, because this was something that we released when we did the Infernal. I forget the actual name of the module that came out, but all kinds of stuff like that. And here we have some pre-made kind of backgrounds as well. I think what we'll do is we'll grab something like this, something that has pretty well, you know what? We can just go into our. Let's just type in dirt. Let's see what we got. We have some nice little like fill elements like this as well. Here we have a nice dirt fill. This comes from our jungle map pack. We have lots of ones from our desert map packs as well. Yeah, we have all kinds of different things that we can actually use. But why don't we just grab this? This is a pretty non-discriminant kind of thing here. What I'm actually going to do is jump over in here, and like I said, we're going to create a new painting layer. We're going to drop this down. Now we're going to want this to be underneath our adjust colors, because we want this to also have that feeling of separation from all the other stuff. And we're going to turn off our stroke, and then we're going to add in a fill element here. And I'm going to keep it on line, because what I'm actually going to do here is I'm just going to draw out some elements here, and then we're going to fade it. We're going to have to make some adjustments to it, but you're going to see. So I'm just going to start drawing this out. And I want this to be a little bit, we can move this around later. It doesn't have to be exact here. And I'm going to make sure I go to the add function. I want this all to be one unit over here. And now we can go into our edit area here. And I'm just going to click on one of these, and I'm just going to simplify this. We can simplify it more if we need to, as you can see. But now we're going to jump over, and we're going to change this. We're going to fade out that edge. You can see that this is already starting to adjust this here a little bit. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my layers tab, and I'm going to change the colors here. I want to darken this up some. I want it to be something similar to what we did before. So I can hit Control V in here, and that's going to change it. So now we get this nice like dirt kind of fill that's kind of coming off of here. We have some at the top as well. We're going to kind of go back and forth here a little bit and make some adjustments to that. But one of the reasons why we want to do this in the color picker of our layers tab is because that will, we don't have to worry about it anymore. We can come in here and we can draw anything that we do on this particular layer is going to be adjusted into this color. We can come back into our fill now. And I'm actually going to grab this little sample setting, and then we can grab this. And what that's going to do is it's going to set up all of our fade and everything to be exactly the same as this one. So I can come down here now, and we can start to add in, because we're going to do a little bit more on this edge as well. I'm just going to start to draw this out. And again, we can switch back over into here. We can grab this, and we can simplify that. Why don't we simplify this quite a lot as well. And we can move these, make sure that all of this kind of lines up to where we want it to be. That out a little bit. And here we have this texture here. We go into this ground texture. Here we have this element. And we can move these around now. Make all of these adjustments that we wish. I think what I'll actually do is maybe we can just grab this and bring this right over here. Then we can kind of bring in, we can do all kinds of fun stuff here. Here, I'm going to use this to, let's move where it was, kind of cover up where this road is, down through here. And we can go back down into this painting here, and I'm going to bring this in. I want this road to kind of feel like it comes almost right up to the edge here. We're going to build a nice little bridge coming across here. And this is a little bit too much here, so let's drag this stuff off. But what this does do is it just gives us a little bit more of a fade coming out from some of these areas here. We can always switch back in and hold down our F key and fade this out even more. I think we might even want to darken this up a little bit more. Yeah, something like this. Now we can go back into our ground textures here. I'm going to go into my stamp mode. And again, I'm going to grab some of this grass. That. And here we have this grass. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint some of this stuff right up to the edge here. I'm not going to do this everywhere. I just want to have that feeling that there's certain parts where some of this stuff comes right up to the edge here. This a bit smaller and come out on some little outcroppings. We can lower down our opacity, kind of blend some of the stuff out as well. Shrink this down and do some right in here. Very cool. I always like to do, make my environment seem a little bit more interesting. We'll do some random stuff out and around here as well. Super. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this down through here. We have some other textures down there. We can drop down in through here. And I want some of the stuff to kind of show through, but I think what I'm actually going to do is let's go back up into our ground textures. I wonder if I can grab this guy down here. I think that these ones kind of get in the way of it, but right here. But we can go into our medieval buildings. Go to our fills, and we have this nice ground fill. Let's switch back over here. Turn off that stroke. Drop this right in there. And again, I think what I'll just do is like maybe like ellipse. We can add to it. But we don't want to do it there. I'm going to hit escape. I want to do it down here. And I'm actually going to just switch over to the add function here. And we're going to do a couple of things out like this. We're going to change its shape. So don't worry about it seeming a little bit not quite right here. I'm actually going to switch over here, and what we can do now is we can scale the image by holding down Control, and you can see that this one's a little bit different, but we might make this a little bit smaller here. And then again, we're going to fade out those edges. We get these nice soft elements here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of grab this stuff and start to move around. I can actually simplify this before we get going here, and then again, I'm going to pull this out. And we kind of do a back and forth here with some of this rocks and dirt. We can leave some of this stuff down here as well. And then what we'll do is I think we'll go back in and we'll fade this out a little bit more. Cool. And we have some little patches in here, but for the most part, it's a little bit more barren. The other thing that we might want to do is come into our adjust colors here, go into our effects, and we'll hide the area. And we could actually come in here. Should be hiding it. Oh, we don't have a mask here. We're going to add a mask first. So we're going to create a mask here. And then what we're going to do is fill this area. And then I think what we'll do is down and through here. And I think now that we'll readjust this a little bit. Let's bring this back to something like 52. And then we can always hide it to see our adjustment there, and that's pretty good. Nice. So let's go back into, we have this folder here, which is our building up here. So we can use these same layers if we so wish for creating some of the additional kind of elements here. But maybe what we'll do is we'll add in, I want to do create this layer to go underneath my ground plants here. Maybe we might want to change this later. We'll just type in bridge. We got a bunch of these ones that come from some other art packs that aren't going to really help us here. But let's have a look here. I think there's one actually in the medieval buildings one. And go to our stamp. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make it more narrow. I'm going to turn this off. And we have a width of 7, but let's make it 5. Make that 8 actually. And we'll make this little bit of a more a narrow kind of bridge. A bit longer. Go this a little bit of an angle here. And we're going to this way so our shadows make a little bit more sense. Or actually what we should do is up here and then we should flip it. And we can drop this thing like that. Oh yeah, we could do some fog. That sounds fun. Mist. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my adjust colors here, and I'm going to readjust this, right? So we want to hide stuff. And we want to add in a little shadow coming off of our bridge here. And we can also intensify this shadow here and come along the edge. Whoops. Something like that. And what we can do is we have all of these elements like this in fills, right? So we have some different kind of stuff here. And so what we can actually do if we need to, we can kind of sell this a little bit better as it kind of transitions. Yeah, we could even do like mist down in the little trench here as well. That might be kind of cool. Fill it full of mist. We can do some overhang, and maybe we'll do some additional elements too. We could even put in like a little cave or something down here. Make some interesting kind of environmental stuff here. We can switch back over to our painting here, and now let's go into our ground textures, and I'm going to grab, let's actually, maybe we'll grab this again. We can kind of drag this up here. Well, actually, you know what? Let's paint it out. Let's paint out a little bit of kind of like connection. We'll do a little bit of like dirt. I think there's a nice stamp that we can use from the jungle. I'm just going to grab this, make this a bit smaller. I'm going to go right into this painting area here. And again, I'm going to hold down R, G, and B, and I'm going to darken this up a little bit. This needs to be a little bit more red, I think, to fit in with some of this other stuff. Oh, we could do water down there. I'll show you how to do that. And what I want to do is just kind of bring this in so it kind of feels as though, right, like that we get a little bit of this. And then I'm going to lower down the opacity quite a lot and just fade out some of this stuff. And we can kind of go back and forth here. We can bring some grass in, but now we just have this like maybe like an old road that's kind of like beaten down. We get a little bit more of a blend here into our little bit of dirt stone bridge. Water would be really easy to do. We can do it. We could do like a little stream coming down through here. Sure. Sounds pretty fun. Get all of this stuff kind of squared away up top first, and then we'll revisit down below. Maybe put in like a stream. Kind of do all kinds of other fun stuff. So let's do a couple of other building placements. Maybe we'll do like one here before we get too much further, right? I'm going to go to the building lower here, and we can go into our medieval building art pack. Go into our decoration. We've got a whole bunch of different ones here, just kind of like pre-made buildings that we can just kind of plop down. I'm just going to stamp some of these around here. We'll just drop something maybe like right here. And we have some different ruins and whatnot we can kind of place around. Maybe we'll put like a tower. We can kind of place it like here maybe. Maybe what we should do is use one of these and do like a building that kind of goes across here as well. Sounds kind of cool. You know, like a little bit of a platform that maybe comes out. Probably do it this one and then that one on top. I come back in here. I'm going to delete that. I like this idea of this like platform that kind of sticks out. Maybe we'll do something else on the other side. Yeah, maybe something like this. And then what we'll do is we can jump over here and we can just move this. Maybe we'll move this over here. And again, we have to go into our adjust colors. And let's fit from here. But then we want to add it this. And then we want to do a nice little shadow that's kind of coming down off of this stuff. Add a shadow to this. Here. Backside here. And there. If we want to make this feel like a tall tower, we can kind of do this. Yeah, I like this. This is kind of cool. And then we can go into our clouds and we can far out smoke coming out of these here. Awesome. Now let's go back into our, I believe that this is all of our trees. So we can go into our stamp mode here. And let me just grab trees. And we can start to place some of them. Oh, I like this idea that some of them are right up close to the edge here. Maybe we'll do one that's like a little ridge here. And again, we'll go into our adjust colors. We'll add a little bit of shadows to these. Very cool. And this is a rather big map as well, 50 by 50, I think is we made it. And again, we have our ground plants. We can come down here and we can go into our stamp and one of these. Not what I wanted to do at all. I always feel like it adds another layer of believability when you do something that kind of has like these of bushes or plants that kind of grow out from underneath. Oftentimes, plants will grow along the edges of buildings. So you can see how quickly you can actually start to build this up and have a pretty believable looking little environment. Lots of places to explore. So now we have a pretty good rundown of all the stuff up top here. So what do you guys think we should do? Should we do a stream going down through here? Should we add fog? Like a ground fog? We can do all kinds of different stuff. You guys have any preferences? Yeah, let's do a river or a stream. A couple of different ways that we can go about doing this. We're going to be doing this again. We're going to go down onto this layer. We're going to have to move some of this stuff. So if we go to our ground texture, what I'll actually do is just kind of move these things out of the way. Because this is above it, and we're going to do it down here. Oh yeah, maybe we'll do both. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. All right, so we're going to build a little stream that kind of comes down through here underneath. So why don't we go into our well, we could do the 2019 art package in here. We have a bunch of different kind of like pre-made ones that we could actually use. But we can also kind of build our own from this. We can also go into our coastal map pack. Not too. And in here we also have some similar brushes. This one's a nice one. It's got a nice kind of like rocky kind of shore. I think we'll go with this one. A little bit of the darker water might work well for us. I'm going to turn off our fill. I'm going to use our stroke here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to turn off my aspect lock ratio. I'm going to make this not quite that narrow. Well, let's want it to be that. I want it to be something like this. Make it 7. Maybe something like maybe a little bit narrower. Yeah, like that. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to paint it out one way and then paint it back the other way. And anywhere where I need to fill in a little bit, I have some water fill element kind of use here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hold down Control and I'm going to snap to my grid here. And then I'm just going to pull this out a little bit and again, and then we're going to see we're going to have to move that one. I'm just going to move a little bit and then I'm going to hold down Control and double click there. And then I'm just going to come back the other way here. And let's make it a little bit lighter there. Hold down Control and double click it there just to end it at the line there. I'm going to fill in this little element down here. We have that there. I think I can just use this actually. Actually, you know what? Maybe what I'll do is I'll grab this background. Let's turn that off. And we'll do it as a fill. fill in this here in the middle. Because now what I can do is can adjust it here, make sure it fills in all those areas, and then I'm going to go over here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to rotate it, and we're also going to make it a lot smaller. We can kind of move around and find work well for us here. Maybe that. Perfect. Now let's go into this ground textures. I want to move this one. And maybe what we'll do is we'll just bring it over here. Variation. The ground. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And I think what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll go over into our effects. Here we have this nice little splash. Let's add some different little variations here. We also want to move this stuff. We can do some that kind of comes onto the shore here a bit. We don't want it to go into our water. Cool. I'm going to lower down this opacity quite a lot, maybe to something like this. And I'm just going to stamp some of this on here. Create some little variations here. And we can increase the opacity. Some of these bends here. Excellent. Next thing we can do is go into our effects layer here, and let's do a water. And we're going to drop this down right over here, and we're going to add a mask. And then I'm just going to kind of loosely this out here. And now we can come in here and do some of these adjustments here. So I think what we'll do is lower down some of this. We don't really need the drop down that intensity some. Maybe what we'll do is ocean instead. Yeah, water. And we can also blur out the mask edges a little bit. Bring it in where, just to give it a little bit more of a feel. Yeah, it's a cool little environment that we've created here. Now we're going to add in some fog elements. We can do that a couple of different ways. So we have some built-in effects layers that do like mist and whatnot. So we're going to use a combination of that and imagery. One of the things that we can do, like I think that if we just type in fog here, I got a couple of like large fog images that work really great. And that's from. So what you could actually do in certain circumstances, we have it in the and we have this one as well. And the way that this kind of works here, let me just kind of drag and drop this in here. We can kind of, let's make this 50 by 50. And what you want to do is lower down this opacity, drop it in underneath all of these buildings. And we can actually make it 25 by 25 and do it a couple of different times. It probably would scale a little bit better here. You can see that it just kind of creates this, and then you can do a little bit of additional kind of stuff from other elements. But I think what we'll do is keep it down in here. For right now, we might be able to spill it out later, but there's a lot of different ways that we can kind of approach this. And so what we can do, let's create a new effects layer, drop this down. We want to do it down here, I believe. And or we might want to do it, yeah, want it to right here, above the water and everything. So here we can either do it with clouds or we can do it with our mist. I'm gonna have to lower this down here quite a lot. So the way it works is anything that is above 50 is going to be moving in that direction. Anything below 50 is going to be moving in the other directions. We want to make pretty slow, right? Maybe something like this, but our smoke is going in the other direction, so let's do 48. Might even want to do like 49. Yeah, something like that. And the amount is just how bright this is. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to add our mask. And then we can just kind of get in here. And then we're going to use some stamped images. Make it feel as though it is coming up off of. And we actually should, you know what, we should move this up so that it's encroaches on the edges of our stuff here. We want it to kind of come up over some of this stuff. Like this. And I'm just going to smooth some of this stuff out. And then we're going to, take it away where it's appropriate. We can blur out those edges. I'm going to drop down that amount. Get this like soft, subtle movement. Maybe what we'll do is we'll pull it in from the edges over here. And kind of jag it up the edges here a little. Our amount here. Maybe what we'll do is let's switch to clouds. I think the clouds will work better for us. What we can do is we can lower down the opacity of the clouds, add in some Then we get a little bit more pockets of things. And what I'm actually going to do is let's go into the Abyssal map pack, and in our decorations here we have clouds, but we have these little like smoke images. And we're going to go into here and let's grab some of this, maybe something like this. And on the water layer here, what I'm actually going to do is lower down the opacity of this. Maybe we'll do something like this one. We should probably do these above this layer. Probably should do it here. So you get a good separation. We'll actually just get another down here. I find that oftentimes it's using a combination of images and effects layers. You can create some really cool effects here. What we'll do is go into our clouds layer and take care of some of this stuff along the edges. This out more. Back in a little bit. Yeah, very cool. What a fun little map that we've created here. All right, guys, do you guys have any questions, or is there anything that I did that maybe I didn't explain properly, or is there anything that I could further um, kind of expand upon for you guys? Oh, well, thanks so much. All right, well, I'm going to take a really quick break then, and then we'll start a new project here. I'm going to think that this one's pretty much finished. So we'll go on from here. So everyone just hang out for a moment, and I will be right back. I'm just going to refreshen my beverages and stretch my legs for a moment, and then we'll dive right back in and continue some creation stuff here. So hold on one second, and I will be right back. All right, and we're back. Thanks everyone for hanging out there while I took a short break. We're back at it, and I am looking for some suggestions. What do you think that we should be making next, guys? We should probably name this one first as well. Let's do that. Call this one. Um, Ooh, a spooky graveyard? That sounds pretty fun. Well, we could do a starship deck plan. Yep, those are all great ones. Any other suggestions? Longlocks Tower. Oh yeah, sure. I could do that real quick before we kind of thing. But yeah, Starship Graveyard. Maybe what we could do is kind of combine the spooky graveyard with a starship. Instead of doing like a starship graveyard, maybe what we'll do is like an abandoned place with like all kinds of like a spooky, scary starship. But before we move on to that, I'll do a little demonstration on how to do like wagon wheel tracks through the dirt or mud. Simple to do. Let's create a new image here, a new image record. We're just going to do this as like a quick little demonstration. So what I'll do is I'm going to grab in the 2019 art package. I'll grab one of these darker kind of dirt tile. Actually, yeah, let's do this. And yeah, I'll just drag and drop it right out here so that we kind of have this space to work on here. Now I wonder if there's any, I think that I have done. And we do have a bunch of track brushes as well. But these are more like footprints. But we'll just kind of make our own. One of the great things that you can do with Fantasy Grounds is that you can do a lot of the color adjustments. And one of the things that works exceptionally well in doing that is when we're using something that is like white or close to white in its color. The way that the system works is it adds the color to the image. So you're always going to have that starting base color. So if you use something that's white, you can change it to whatever color you wish. If we go into our winter art pack, we have some really great brushes, but we have some other stuff as well. So here we have like this kind of like winter road. Now what we can actually do with this is we can make any sort of adjustments we want to as far as like the color goes. If we switch back over to our stroke here, let me put this in, as you can see, this is kind of very similar to what you want to do. And all I have to do is go into my tint and then match it up with some of the colors that I have here, and you can see that. I'm going to make this a little bit darker just so that it's a little bit easier to see. Something like this. And then we can do some further. Well, actually, you know what? Let's keep it pretty much the same as this, and then we'll just add in our own shadows. So one of the great things that you want to do to emphasize certain things in your maps is that expanded on idea of using your shadows and light kind of content, lighter areas and darker areas, to really emphasize whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Kind of like we just did with our little chasm. It doesn't really look like a chasm until you put in those shadows. And this is going to be the same way, right? So here we have something that's pretty similar to what you want to do as far as this. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to shrink this down. We're going to use this for each of the wagon wheels, right? And so this is going to be our little divot by which we're going to be kind of work this out here. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do like a little bit of a shadow along certain aspects of it to really make it feel as though that it's like deep down, because you want that kind of thing. And then you could really go hog wild on this kind of stuff, making all kinds of different little bits of rocks and here and there, and maybe even some puddles and whatnot to really emphasize the mud. But what I'm going to do, I'll just do like a quick little thing here, and we're just going to kind of paint out a little strip, and then I'll go in the opposite direction for here. And you can see we already have a pretty good facsimile. You can see there's lots of like little elements that feel like it's kind of like dug up out of there and all of this stuff. Now we can either do it with painted elements to really emphasize certain aspects of this, or we can do an effects layer. So let's just create an effects layer here, and we're going to do an adjust colors. And we're going to add a mask to this. But first, we're just going to darken up this area here. And then we'll enable our mask. And then what I can do is, anywhere that I feel as though there's going to be, we're going to blur this out as well. Right? And that might be a little bit too dark. Maybe we'll do something like 45. And then on this side as well, where it's going to be kind of like up out of the ground, here, and then here. And that might be a little bit too much of a blur, so we might want to bring this in a little. And then we want to, that's a little bit too much on the side here. These subtle kind of shadows, we want to make sure that the middle here kind of open. As you can see, we got a little bit there. We're gonna increase that shadow a little bit. Well, and now what I would do is kind of come in here and change some of the variations. You wouldn't want it to be like completely kind of rigid like that, you know, like these. I'm just doing it for a quick little demonstration here. Now the next thing that I would do to really kind of, as I said before, kind of like seal this kind of thing, is I would also, and probably in the same way, I would either, you know, find little like clumps of dirt and whatnot that I was going to add in here, and rocks and things that kind of get pushed out of the way as it kind of goes through the mud. And also what I would do is, you know, I wouldn't like straight lines and make it feel a little bit. But you can use all of these elements. So here we have some additional kind of snow kind of build up elements here, and you can do this exactly the same kind of way here, right? So if we grab this, go into our little line here, and again we want to make this quite small, and again we're going to add this kind of color to it, probably a little bit more along this line. You can do the same kind of thing here. This is, well, actually, okay here, and I'm going to actually lower down the opacity of this, like that. And then I can actually build this up a little bit more as well, right? So maybe I want to do additional kind of elements here. And I think what I would do is turn this off, and let's make this a bit longer. We might even want to do like an additional like painting layer, maybe like underneath. Let's make this even really long. You just get these like really light little variations. And you can see this is like this. We can kind of go back and forth here, above and below. Add some additional kind of content there. And so you can kind of go through and build that up as much as you want to. And if we go back into the snow as well, and I use the snow a lot in many different circumstances, like I said, it really adds a whole bunch of variations to what we're trying to create. Because we have these really great kind of elements like this. And we can use these for like a ground buildup as well. Because what we can do is, let me just grab this. I'm going to grab this hexadecimal code here. And we're going to go into our stamp. And then we're just going to hit Control V. Paste that in there. And we can start to build out some little sections along here. Again, you want to make sure that you change these so that you can get some really nice kind of like variations. And add a little bit of little bits that kind of stick out here and there. Create a little bit of more variation. And then you can go in and grab any sort of like stones that you want to. Maybe we'll go into the, well, I could type in rock, but that'll be a lot of rocks. Let me just go into here and we'll go into our decorations here. And maybe we'll grab a couple of these like stones. We'll do a couple of these. And then again, what I would do is back and forth. I'd make some of this like sticking up out of, but I would definitely use my effects layers to add a little bit of make them feel as though they're kind of like stuck in the mud there. And you can do all kinds of different stuff along those lines. But hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of a demonstration of how I would go about doing it. Great, so let's grab all of this stuff and we're just going to delete it. And we're going to go in and we're going to start to build out our scary spaceship. So what I would suggest, especially in creating something like this, is, well, the first thing we'll do is kind of, yeah, no problem at all. I like doing stuff like that, trying to, and I would actually go in too and do like some specular highlights, make it seem as though it's wet, little puddles here and there, all kinds of fun stuff. I really like doing that kind of stuff. So we're gonna do a spaceship. So what kind of ship do you guys think that we should do here? Do you think that we should do something that's rather like a cargo ship that's rather large and has these big open areas, lots of hallways, that kind of thing? Do you think that the ship should be like circular or what do you guys think? Or maybe we should do like a space station? I kind of like this idea of making it seem as though that it's like a scary kind of environment. like those old sci-fi horror movies, you know? Yeah, what do you guys think? We got space station, we got cargo ship. We'll probably just get it going today. We'll get all of the basics in there, and then we can jump in and finish it up next week. Yeah, yeah, like this abandoned kind of thing that you might come across. We can do all kinds of cool like cobwebs or whatnot, and whatever might be laying around. And do some really cool like lighting effects. That might be really fun. You know, you get like some of these flashing emergency lights here and there, and oh yeah, that might be cool. Space mining operation on an asteroid, like an abandoned, like a we'll do like a big asteroid, and then we'll attach like a space station or some sort of mining facility attached to it, like maybe a ship or. Yeah, that sounds really cool. What do you guys think about that? Then we can do all kinds of like rock formations coming in through some parts of the ship, where it's like opened up into the. I kind of like that. I like to do that kind of mix and match of textural kind of stuff. I always like it when stone walls and whatnot kind of built out of natural stone. Well, why don't we? I'll actually grab a couple of the new kind of images here. We'll start off with like a big, nice little like background, and we'll just kind of do something and give us a little bit of a start here. Let's turn off our lights for right now. Have this kind of like spacey kind of background, and we can also use some of these decoration. We have some nice like asteroid belts and stuff, and asteroids. We could do like some kind of stuff kind of hangs around here, but we'll build most of it, and we can use some of this stuff in the get a little bit of that background kind of feeling. Maybe bits of the asteroid that kind of like falls off. You can see we have all kinds of different like galaxies and really neat kind of stuff in here. So what I'm actually going to do from this, how big of a thing do you think this is? We should probably actually, instead of doing it like this, what I'll actually do fill, so that way we can change it. No stroke, and we'll just kind of draw out a section like this. Delete that. One of the great things about using a fill is we can come back in here after the fact, and we can change its size whatever we want. And all of this is all seamless backgrounds. And we should probably also turn on our grid so that we can see it here. I'm going to lower down its opacity so it's not so intrusive. Maybe something like this. And I'm just going to snap some of the stuff to the grid here, and we'll do something like here. Perfect. Pretty big layout here. So what we'll do is I'm going to create a new painting layer, kind of jump in here, and I'm going to rough out some of the basic kind of feeling that I want to have here as far as like the a general kind of idea. Well, this is going to be kind of a complex image. We want to make sure that we don't get ourselves into some sort of situation where we're kind of lost as to where to go next, right? What I'm going to actually do is I'm just going to use the regular kind of like painting tools. So we're going to switch over to the paint here, this, and I'm going to make this do like 0.5. I don't want it to be black. I'm going to make it red. And we're going to just kind of rough out here. With the white fill and the red lines, we can kind of get a good idea about the shape that we're going to create and how we're going to do it. That's one of the great things that you can do, kind of sketch this stuff out out of fantasy. I can use these different elements to kind of create whatever shape that I wish, and then I'm going to build on top of that and kind of recreate it, and it will just exponentially. So what I think what we'll do is we'll have like a large kind of like rock structure that will be here, and we should differentiate this. Let's do this will kind of be like this asteroid or whatever it is that it, maybe a small moon or something that it's kind of like attached to. We'll build a couple of different layers out and kind of fill up some of this section over. And now what I'm going to do, let's make this maybe like green. Then we'll change our fill. Do this like a light blue. That way we'll just have a good definition of what we're going to try and create here. That's no moon. So I think what we'll do is let me grab my line here, and I'm just going to start to kind of draw out my shape here. And I want it to kind of be along the edge here, right? And I can hold down Control, and I can snap to the grid here. And we can move this after the fact, and this is one of the great things using this system. I think we'll build out. Then I want there to be some other elements that may come down this way. And let's just snap some of this stuff. I'm going to snap this one down here. And we'll back there. And I think what we'll do is go back into here, and I would like to have like a rounded kind of element. I think what we'll do is this. That over. That. Oh, maybe what we'll do is we'll have like a little port here. And then we can do like a this would be like where you would dock. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over to this fill, and I'm going to hold down A, and I'm going to just lower this opacity down so I can see. I think I'm going to have this kind of coming into certain parts of the ship. We'll have this kind of open mining area, certain aspect of it. And then we can kind of paint out some like debris, some rocks kind of like floating around and whatnot out and through there. Yeah, I think that'll be pretty good. And that should be big enough for us to kind of get started. We can always add to it as we progress if we go with. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to call this sketch. I'm going to put these inside of it. And we'll create a new painting layer. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to build out this. And there's a few different ways that we can kind of do this. Right? Like I don't have any large images that are just kind of set for this kind of stuff. So we're going to have to build it. That sounds pretty fun to me. First thing I'm going to look for is a rock brush. And I think that there are a few. Well, we have some like this. We have some cliffs. I think that if we go into our, and we want to make this kind of, oh, you know what we could actually do? We could use we could go back into the Abyssal map pack here, go into our tiles. We could actually use this, stuff like this, and create a large fill element. That will work really well. Go into our circle here, and I'm going to grab this guy, and we can turn off our stroke. What I'll do is I'll just kind of build this out like this. And then we can kind of build up other elements around it. This will just be like our base kind of whatnot. I think that'll work pretty well. And we can change this. Be kind of in and out here. So it's not completely round here. Once we add in some nice shadows and some other elements here, I think that this will work really well. Because we can go into our decorations and we have a bunch of this kind of stuff here as well. And so we can just begin to stamp out some of this. And what I really want to do is kind of get this idea that it has kind of rounded, which is going to be a little bit tricky for us to kind of pull off here, but I think we can do it. I'm just going to stamp some of this stuff around, and by trying to make these a little bit more angled, we could actually probably what if we could distort some of these things a little bit to make them feel as though that they're going at a particular angle? We could do something like that, squash it down and make this feel like it's a little bit on the edge. Help us feel like a little bit rounded. Move this like over here. And we might want to do the same with something like that. So let's grab maybe something. Let's go back to our stamp. And again, what I'm going to do is wash this a bit. Like that much. Which we should probably go the other direction, right? Make that too much. That one doesn't really work well. We can go into our desert art packs as well. A lot of great things there that we can use. think we have some here that are a little bit at different angles and things. We could actually just use some of these. Well, quite large, like mesa kind of things. It might even work better. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Let's just build it up out of here. So what I'm gonna go back in. Let's just remove stuff. Experimentation. Great way to do all this stuff. What I'll do is I'll just kind of build out shapes here. Yeah, I think that'll actually work a little bit better. And we can even use like some of this stuff. We'll create another layer and put this underneath. We'll do some of this stuff like out and around. You can even do if I'm like floating up over. And we can do like some little particle clouds and whatnot around it. Cool. I'm actually going to grab this sketch and I'm going to put it on top here. And I'm going to go into here and I'm going to lower down the opacity of all of it. Oh, it looks like I put this on out. And we'll do this as space. And then we can create a new folder. Drop this down here. Great. Now we can start to run out all of the basic shape of our little installation. Well, and then once we have that done, we can get rid of our little sketch here. Let's go to our sci-fi interiors. Or maybe we'll do in their spaceship. We have all kinds of cool things. Maybe what we'll do is we'll build it from the outside view rather than doing the interior first. What do you guys think? Should we just build an interior, or should we create like an exterior first? I'm down for either. I think this seems like a pretty good industrial kind of wall. And we'll go to floors. We can find something that's a pretty good industrial kind of floor as well. Maybe we'll try this. So now what I can do, one of the great things that I can do with this, let's create a new painting layer, is I can stick with this, but I can click on all of these. I can hold down Control, although that floor isn't quite. So let's try something different. We'll do a multi-layer kind of thing here. And there's our base for our. We can paint over certain areas here if we so wish. That's our base there. And now we can delete our sketch. I think what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll. I'm just going to make sure that all of these are kind of snapped to the grid, right where I want them to be. And this is just so that I can again snap to the grid and change some effects. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to be doing some stuff above and below. Okay, so we have a question here. How do you get a fill from my floor to match the grid size I set? It always seems to be off center. Well, I'm not exactly sure I follow your question. Are you saying like there's a built-in grid into your floor that you're using, or so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do an additional kind of floor underneath without stroke. I'm going to create another painting layer, and I'm going to drop this down underneath. Well, you can so once you've done your fill element, you can go into here and you can oh, we run into a minor problem. Let's close that and reopen it. So once you go into your painting layer here, you can move this around and resize it after the fact. And you can also change your grid size. So here's my grid size back here. Let's increase my grid size, not my grid size, but my opacity. So this. So let's say I want to line this up with my grid. All I have to do is go into here and move it to whatever seems appropriate for me. And if I need to change its size, all I have to do is hold down Control, and I can change the size of that grid, of my actual fill element. I can also go into my grid here. If I want to, I can use my set grid with mouse, and then I can drag out if I want this to be exact with that kind of measurement. I can do that as well. And you can nudge this around and move it in addition. It should be pretty easy for you to kind of match all that stuff up, doing all of those adjustments. I'm going to set this back down to 100 by 100. And again, I'm going to lower down the opacity of it. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to turn off that stroke. And I'm going to grab one of these other kind of elements here. Something like, maybe we'll do something like this. Well, that's better for like little bits here and there. I want to do something that's pretty generic. Maybe something like this. And again, what I'm going to do is just kind of snap out elements. I want to make sure that it's on the correct layer. Here we go. It's going to be underneath that. And I'll be able to readjust this later. We might take some of it away. You can always erase parts of your fill. And now let's go over into here. I'm actually going to make this a bit. Oh, awesome. Good to hear, Jason. Bigger here. And I'm going to line these up well. Like that's going to be about close enough. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to darken that up. do something like 175 across the board here. Okay. Now we can come back into this layer and we can start to place down some other elements, right? Well, I'm going to start to build up. What I actually want to do is kind of get this feeling. We're trying to create like this industrial kind of area, right? So we can add in and remove certain elements and kind of build up over the top. We can kind of create many different layers of these kind of like industrial floors. I think that feels kind of. Let's grab some of these other elements. We can actually go into our brushes here. I don't have any floor ones, but we might even actually go into the spaceship. Some really great textures in there. And these really great kind of like industrial feeling elements. Like stuff like this. So what I think we'll do is grab this. We'll do this as like a fill. I'm going to do it as a rectangle here. Again, I'm going to hold down Control so we snap to the grid. And then I'm going to switch over to the Add element here. Maybe what we'll do is do like a little bit of a walkway around this side. We'll do like large machinery kind of thing here. Then I think what we'll do is let's add in here, and I'll add in a couple of elements here, but we're just going to do this to create the, show you what we can do now is in here as, doesn't look like, if we can add those together. Oh, delete that. Of our add image. Let's do this again. Let's make sure that all of these add together. I want it to be one. Then here, I'm not sure what we'll do. I'm going to subtract out. Oh, because it's on this layer. So what I'll have to do is, all I have to do, if you ever need to do this, and this is a nice little trick, it'll erase everything because all of this is on the same layer. So it's going to go through. If you want to erase something from this and not from this, all you have to do is double click on that and move the entire thing. And then come over to your eraser and then erase what you want to do. Come back and move it back to where it was. And don't worry about having this necessarily right where you want it to be first go, because all you have to do is just select this circle and you can move this wherever you want. And then we might want to change this. Maybe we'll do a little bit more rounded there. All you have to do, well, what I like to do is I'll just make additional kind of elements there, and we'll do it exactly the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it and bring it over here. And then we'll just, what I'll do is I'll take my line and with my subtraction mode, and I can just kind of do this, and it will create a whole bunch of lines there, a bunch of includers that I can use. Now remove whatever ones I hold down Control so I can snap it back to the grid. And then I'm going to drag out some of these. I want to adjustments here up a little bit. And I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going to follow this edge here a little. And we can grab these and remove them. And we'll snap this to the grid so that we can kind of line all this stuff up. And I think we'll go over here and let's adjustments, make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, very cool. And we can make further adjustments to this as we kind of progress here. Like this, we'll snap some stuff in. Cool. And now we can kind of come in and start to add in some other kind of elements here. We have all of this stuff. We can switch over to our stamp tool now. And I think what we'll do is kind of stamp in some of these things, make some cool kind of elements here. We're going to build up some of these areas in and around it, but will help create some of a diversity. Create some cool kind of environments. All right, let's go back to our interior. We got some railing here, kind of use. I think what we'll do is create a new painting layer. That fill off. All right, so we have a question here. How do you easily work with line of sight and walls if corridors or small tunnels don't completely match with the grid? So you can move all that stuff after the fact. Are you talking about, is there like a map that, like a pre-made map? What I'm going to do, or is this something that you've created? I'm going to delete. I want to come in here and I want to actually darken this up a little bit. So like, for example, this will automatically generate all my line of sight for me. But if I have to adjust it after the fact, it's do as well. So let me just, for like a quick kind of demonstration here. Yep, that's true. Shift plus move. If you grab, let's do a little demonstration here so we can kind of jump over here and do this. So let me grab, I think I'm all the way up here. Might have a couple of pre-made maps or something that has some. Oh, I think I know one that I might have. Yeah, let's go into interiors. The interior map back, and in our backgrounds here, there's a couple of pre-made maps here. So let's, I'll close this down early, but let's grab like this first floor, and we'll create. This has all of the. Oh, we already did this. We kind of lined this up a while ago. And what we'll do is if we look at this, let's go into the line of sight tab here. So here we have all the walls and whatnot and the doors. And depending on what our grid system is set up as, let's turn on our grid. You can kind of see this. You can see that some of these are going to be pretty small, right? Well, if we put our token on here, let's grab our combat tracker, grab our little buddy Bob and throw him in here. And we'll switch over and we'll turn on our player vision and line of sight and stuff. So that way when I click on Bob, what I'm going to see. What do we have going on here? Let's go. Fire. I have no idea. Like that there is something there, but there isn't. Oh, it's because these aren't turned on. Gotcha. All right, so here we have Bob, and we have some small little doorways here. Right? Now, if I open this door, he can see in, but he's gonna have he can move through there, no problem. But sometimes you're gonna get these little alcoves and whatnot, where it's gonna be a little bit difficult. Now, there's a couple of different things that you can do from your end, and it depends on how much you want to have your players kind of involvement here. Okay? Here we have another one, and moves through that pretty well. Here we have in these little alcoves, whatnot, you may have run into a couple of issues. All you have to do is go into your line of sight tab, and anything along these lines, all of this can snap to the grid. So you can grab these and hold down Control. Probably don't want to do it with don't know what I've just done here. Like these, we don't need these. Not sure where any of these came from. But in all of these elements here, right, like that we have all kinds of different kind of site stuff that's going on here. I wonder if I take this guy off. All right. So all you have to do is you can grab these and you can move these around. This is weird, and I'm not sure why not interacting with properly. Maybe we should make a new record here. Let's try this again. Let's open up images. That is house interiors. Let's delete this. And then we'll just create a new record from this. We'll turn off our lighting. So all of these little elements in here, we should be able to just grab these. And I'm going to say that there's something that isn't quite right with it. Look at these. But it should all be able to be done here. Go to our door. Can I move these now? Yeah, there's some odd stuff that's going on right now. But normally what you can do is you can just grab this and just move it over to the side. There's some craziness on here right now. Well, let's create our own. So let's grab, well, let's just go back into here. I don't know what's going on now. I broke it, everyone. I broke it. I'm just going to delete all the line of sight, and then we'll try it again. All right, so let's quickly kind of throw this together, and I'm going to turn off this stuff. So the same way that I would do it, line of sight here, and we'll just create stuff real quick. We have some basic little elements, and I'll do this one right here. We'll do this little area. And you don't have to do it this way anymore. I'm just so, like, I can go right across here now. And we'll go to a door. The door will actually, we now have the ability to clip through. So we can just kind of do this. All right, so this should be okay. So now what we can do is in these little areas in here, right, we have our grid set up. If this isn't wide enough, I'm going to be on selection mode. If this isn't wide enough, you can just grab these, and it's so weird that it's not working. How bizarre. It must be a bug. I'll have to do some further experimentation and see. Anyway, you should be able to move them wherever you wish in order for that to do. And you can kind of grab these. Should be able to. I'll do some further investigation, and maybe there's a bug that I can report to Carl. There's no real difference. No. It's all about preference. So depending on this is the reason why I tend to do a single line because I like to show some of the wall. So for example, in this circumstance, grab this guy and throw him in here. Go back and we turn on the line of sight here. You can see that you can see a bit of the wall. And even if I'm on the other side, you can see that outside of the wall. With a double line, you end up having a lot less of that visible. So it's just about your preference. And what I do most of the time, and I can show you here, let's really close this down. We'll go back to what we were working on. What you can do in these instances, because this is all one particular element, you can go into your painting tab here over to the edit, and I can select all of this, and then I can actually duplicate all of the painted or just the selected as walls, and this will instantly generate this for me. I have all of that line of sight that's already been aligned. And again, this will work exactly the same way. So if we come back over and we grab our buddy Bob, and there you have that elements. And the same for outside. And we'll delete that for right now because we'll do all of our line of sight here at the end. I think we're going to do some really cool like lighting effects and stuff. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to kind of getting to the end of the stream here. Do you guys have any other questions, or is there anything else that I can kind of help you? I'm gonna scoot out just a little bit early. So I'm here every Saturday from 3 p.m. and we usually run till about 6. Today I'm gonna have to scoot out just a little bit early here. How do you easily connect the line from a previous dot and continue drawing? So you're talking about painting, or are you still on line of sight? If you're talking about using the stroke on painting or line of sight, because line of sight will automatically kind of, you can do magnetic snap. So magnetic snap, for example, here, let's change this. I'll make this white so we can kind of see it. Let's make that a bit bigger. Let's say I start to paint out a line here. Like, oh, I want to start that where I left off. What I do is I oftentimes hold down Control. So I snap to the grid. Means that I can then pick it right back up where I left off by holding down Control. It'll snap to the grid system. Here we'll do it automatically. That on. The same is true in your line of sight. We have magnetic snap and grid snap. Turn that on and it will automatically snap to the grid. And you can pick it right back up where you left off. Yep, line of sight. Yep, you can do it exactly the same way. So if you have this magnetic snap, let's turn off the grid snap and let's zoom in here. Let's say I do this. All you have to do is be anywhere near this and it will immediately, it'll snap right to it. You can also, while you're doing this, if you draw out a line, if you hold down Shift, it'll go only at 90 or 45-degree angles, which can make doing Another thing that you can do is if you don't touch your mouse, you can actually use your arrow keys to move one square and then hit your space bar. So there's a multitude of different ways that you can kind of do it. It looks like constellation. Great. Is there any other questions that I can help you guys with before I scoot out? Oh yeah, FGU has one of the great things about FGU is there's no clear cut. Well, I mean, there's always a standardized way of doing things, but the system is so diverse and well implemented that you can come up with so many different ways to approach any problem. Great. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. We're going to finish this map up next time. It's going to be super cool. I'm really excited about it. And we will see you all next time. Tonight is Fabled Dice. I believe it's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And I am here every Saturday from 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And we run until just about 6. Sometimes I got to scoot out a little bit early. We go over all of the art-related stuff. So maybe this next week we'll get this one finished up. And then the one after that, we'll be working on some Spelljammer stuff. It'll be super fun. So thanks everyone. Have a great week, and we will see you all next time. Take care, everybody.